The silence after you leave is deafening. It's in that quiet that the ghosts of the past begin to speak. You start to see the threads that were so cleverly woven into your reality, threads you couldn't see when you were tangled in them. This isn't about the obvious storms of abuse, the shouting matches or the slammed doors. This is about the subtle, quiet poisons that you only recognize once you have the antidote: distance. It's the slow drip of manipulation that feels like care, the control that masquerades as concern. Today, we're not just naming these ghosts, we're understanding them so you can finally let them go. Here are 8 covert abuse patterns you only notice after you leave. Number 1, weaponized incompetence. When you were in it, you might have just thought they were a little clumsy, forgetful, or just bad at certain things. They couldn't seem to handle paying a bill on time, making a simple appointment, or cooking a meal without burning it. So you did it. You took over because it was just easier. It felt less stressful than dealing with the fallout of their mistakes. You thought you were being a supportive partner, picking up the slack. But now, with space, you see it for what it was. It wasn't a lack of ability, it was a strategy. This is called weaponized incompetence. They were perfectly capable, but they performed tasks poorly on purpose, so you would give up and do it yourself. This did 2 things. First, it piled more and more of the mental and physical load of the relationship onto your shoulders, leaving you exhausted and overwhelmed. Second, it made you feel essential while secretly making them the one in control. You were too busy managing their incompetence to have the energy to question the relationship itself. You weren't their partner. You were their unpaid life manager. The goal wasn't just to get out of doing a chore. The goal was to make you too tired to have a life outside of them. Number 2, future faking. This one is a particularly cruel form of manipulation because it hijacks your hopes and dreams. They would paint these beautiful, vivid pictures of the future with you. They talked about the house you'd buy, the children you'd have, the places you'd travel. They would describe it in such detail that you could almost feel the sun on your face in that faraway country, or hear the laughter in that home you'd build together. It felt so real. It felt like a promise. This future became the glue that held you to them through all the bad times. Whenever you felt like leaving, you'd remember that beautiful picture, and you'd think, we just need to get through this rough patch, and then we'll have that. But after you leave, you see the truth with chilling clarity. The future was never a plan. It was a tool. It was a dangling carrot to keep you running on their treadmill. They never took any concrete steps to make that future happen. There were always excuses, delays, and reasons why now wasn't the right time. They weren't building a future with you. They were just using the idea of one to control your present. Number 3, sabotaging your joy. Did you ever notice how something good could never just be good? You'd get a promotion at work, and their first comment would be, well, I hope you'll still have time for me. You'd be excited about a night out with friends, and they'd suddenly get sick or start an argument right before you were supposed to leave. You'd find a new hobby that lit you up, and they'd subtly mock it or call it a waste of time. At the time, you might have brushed it off. You thought they were just worried, or having a bad day, or maybe you were being too sensitive. But now you see the pattern. It was a subtle sabotage of your happiness, your joy, your success, your independence. These were threats to their control. A person who is happy and fulfilled on their own is a person who doesn't need the relationship. So they had to gently dim your light, to poke small holes in your moments of happiness, ensuring that your primary source of validation and emotion was them. They couldn't stand the light in you because it was a reminder of things they couldn't control. Number 4, the constant misunderstandings. How many times did you end an argument feeling confused, apologizing for something you weren't even sure you did? Fights would start, and by the end, the original topic was completely lost. You'd be arguing about whose turn it was to do the dishes, and somehow it would end with you apologizing for being too emotional or misinterpreting their tone. They were masters of twisting reality. They would deny things they said, reframe your words to sound unreasonable, and steer every conversation into a maze of confusion until you felt lost. You were left constantly second-guessing your own perception. Maybe I did misunderstand them. Maybe I'm too sensitive. This isn't just a simple disagreement. It's a form of gaslighting designed to make you believe that the problem is always your reaction, never their action. After you leave, and you start having conversations with other healthy people, you realize that communication isn't supposed to be a battlefield. You weren't the one who was always misunderstanding. You were the one being deliberately misunderstood. Number 5, jealousy, disguised as concern. In the beginning, their jealousy might have felt flattering. They cared so much. They just wanted to protect you. They'd ask who you were texting, question why you were friends with certain people, and express concern about you going out alone. It felt like they were just looking out for you, like their love was so strong they couldn't bear the thought of anything happening to you. But from the outside, you see, it wasn't about protection. It was about possession. It was a way to monitor and control your social interactions. Their concern was a leash, disguised as a safety blanket. They created a narrative where the world was a dangerous place, and only they could keep you safe, which coincidentally meant keeping you away from anyone who might offer you a different perspective. They questioned your friends because your friends might point out the red flags. They questioned your motives because a strong social network was a threat to your dependence on them. It wasn't love, it was ownership. Number 6, the Slowburn isolation. This pattern is one of the most dangerous because it happens so gradually, you barely notice it. It doesn't start with them forbidding you from seeing your family or friends. That would be too obvious. Instead, it's a slow, methodical chipping away at your support system. It would start with small things. Every time you made plans with a friend, they'd have a bad day and need you to stay home. Or they'd make a subtle comment about how that one friend is a bad influence or doesn't really like them. They might create drama or tension during family gatherings, making it so stressful that you start to avoid them just to keep the peace. Over time, you find yourself making excuses for why you can't see people. Your world slowly shrinks until they are at the center of it, not by force, but by a series of carefully engineered circumstances. After you leave, you look around and realize how quiet your phone has become. Rebuilding those bridges is hard, but it's then that you understand you weren't drifting from people. You were being steered away. Number 7, financial strangulation. Like the other patterns, covert financial abuse isn't always about them taking your money or forbidding you to work. It's much more subtle. It's about creating dependence. Maybe they insisted on handling all the finances because they were better with numbers. Maybe they encouraged you to quit your job to pursue a passion that never paid the bills, or to stay home and raise the kids, framing it as a noble sacrifice. It all sounds reasonable at the time, but the result is the same. You lose your financial independence. Without your own resources, leaving becomes a monumental, almost impossible task. How can you afford a deposit on an apartment? How can you support yourself? They create a cage with invisible bars made of financial dependence. After you leave, often with nothing, you see how every helpful financial gesture was actually a step in building that cage. They weren't helping you manage your money. They were managing you through money. Number 8, the erosion of your intuition. This is perhaps the most damaging pattern of all because it happens inside of you. Your intuition, that gut feeling, is your internal alarm system. It's the quiet voice that says, something isn't right here. In a covertly abusive relationship, that alarm is going off constantly, but the abuser's main job is to convince you it's broken. Every time you felt that something was wrong and you brought it up, you were told you were crazy, paranoid, or making things up. Every time their actions didn't match their words and you pointed it out, you were gaslit until you doubted your own sanity. Over months or years of this, you learn to stop trusting that inner voice. You silence it because listening to it only leads to fights and being told you're the problem. The real tragedy is that you turn against your own best defender. When you finally leave, there's a long, difficult process of learning to trust yourself again. The quiet returns. And in that quiet, you can finally hear that small, persistent voice again, and you realize it was right all along. Leaving is the first step. The journey after is about rediscovering the reality that was stolen from you, piece by piece. It's about understanding that you weren't crazy, you weren't too sensitive, and you weren't the problem. You were a person responding rationally to an irrational and toxic environment. Reclaiming your story is the final act of taking your power back. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more content that helps you understand and heal. Healing from these experiences can feel lonely, so let's use the comments to support each other. For those of you who have made it to the other side, what was the first pattern you recognized after you left? Your comment might be the validation someone else desperately needs to read today. Take care of yourselves.